and this has the green. And I'm lucky to be able to tell that. I can tell more by the size because I'm colorblind. So I can see that there's, you know, that's probably the green one. I'm not, I don't know. If you know anything about color blindness, it's not 100%. So I can see the different colors if I get enough light on them. And I can tell that that's green, but just barely. And I'm doing the same thing here. Winding it once away from the little button on the peg and then start wrapping it where it just winds itself closer. Wrap a little bit there before I even put it in down here. It just makes it easier to hold. And then I'll try to wrap it. I try to get my strings fairly neatly wrapped where they don't look really bad. Keep them straight. Okay. Got that. So now we got the two outer strings on it. Now I'll go back to this one because this one's the next one in the order of the pegs here. This is the D string. And once again, just save it for the potential of breakage. Wrapping it up a little bit so it doesn't get too unwieldy in the package. Just slide it back in the package here. And the D string I mentioned already is yellow, and that would be this one. I can see yellow pretty well, and I can tell this one's black, so I know the A one is the black one. So, and the size of this tells me that it's the right one too, so I can tell by size better than I can by color. This one looks like it's got so much wrapping it's going to be difficult to get in that slot, but oh, I got it. I'm going to loosen, I need to loosen all these, by the way. I didn't do that on the E, so I'm going to go ahead and loosen the E up here while I'm thinking about it. Get it all the way loose. And loosen up the D. Get it all the way loose. Sorry about that. I could see the, I just looked up at the viewfinder for the first time there for a little while. Probably had a lot of this covered, and I apologize with that light. Okay, so now we're going to put this in the D peg. Same procedure again. Wrap it once around the peg on the far side away from the button of the peg, and then start wrapping it, letting it work its way back toward the peg. And just lock that in place there. A little bit of tension, not very much tension. Now we're going to take the A off. And again, going back to that comment about when they're set up correctly, they're ready to fall apart. You can probably see what I'm talking about because these pegs are just in there by friction. The sound post is totally in there by friction. This bridge is sitting there by friction. And even, really even this loop is just held on because of the friction of the strings pulling on it. So everything is literally ready to fall apart. You take the strings off of it and it literally falls apart. I get more violins in here just to string them back up than I do for any other reason. So it's a little, it's kind of like doing 6 things at once here when you're putting one of them together from scratch, because there's no tension at the beginning. You got to kind of build your tension as you go. And this one's a little bit harder probably because it's just down in there further and it's a little hard to control the end of the string. So I'll do the best I can. Got her on there, now we'll straighten her up. I believe it's in about the right place. Okay, the strings look pretty good up at the nut and here both. Okay, first thing to do is check my intonation again just to make sure it's pretty close. I don't want to string it up if it's, or start tightening it if it's really far off. It's pretty darn close, so I'm going to call that good for the moment. I've got an electronic tuner here. And I'll just get them close. I don't bring any of them up to full pitch. There's this is a G, so I'm bringing this up to an F sharp right now. This is the D. Bring it up a little bit. Bring it up to about a C. That's good enough for the moment. The E side, now you can tell it's gotten really loose. As you tighten all this up, the other strings start to get loose. So there's a continual process of tuning at the beginning, of getting all the strings stretched out to tension. And as you're doing this, that walks this bridge forward. At least the top of the bridge is going to want to go forward. So we're going to have to straighten all that up as we get into this too. So now bring the E up a little bit. Bring it up. I'm up to a C sharp. That's good enough for the moment. It's starting to ring. Now we get to A here and bring it up a little bit. Get it up to around a G level there somewhere. That's good. That's a G. Now we'll go back to the G string, and it's dropped down to an F. So we'll bring it back up a little bit. Bring it up to, there's the G note. That's dropped down to a B. Bringing this up to a D. Get it up. Got it up to a D. Now I'm going to drop back over to the E side. It's dropped down to a C now. So let's go to probably bring it up to about a D sharp or E flat. Whoa, went past it. Well, that's an E, so that's okay. And here's an A. We'll bring it up to that. It's at a G there. G sharp. There's getting close to an A. Still G sharp. There's a low A. Okay, that gives it a little bit of tension now. Now it's starting to, starting to stretch and move back into its strung up shape. So now the thing I'm going to do is check my intonation line here, and now that's moved about 2 millimeters, so I'm going to have to move the top of the bridge back. It's pulled it forward, and I knew it would. It always does. And that's just about perfect. A hair long, it's actually a hair that way, and that's okay because it's going to pull again as I tighten it up some more. Getting close. It's starting to sound a little bit like a violin tuned up. That's an F sharp. Going back up to a G. That's a C sharp. Bring it back up to a D. G sharp. Bring it back up to an A. It's a low E. Bring it up to an E. It's a high E now. That's okay because I know it's going to stretch. I'm going to leave it at the high E right there at the moment. And go back over here. The G's gone low, so bring it back up. The D's gone low. Bring it back up. And the A's gone low. Bring it back up. Getting closer. Check the intonation again. Right on the money that time. And checking it to make sure the bridge is still pretty vertical, and it's pretty straight. If you don't keep that bridge vertical, you will end up buying a new bridge because it's going to bend on you. So you want to try to keep it as vertical as you can, especially once you thin them down like I thinned this one down. Okay. Now these strings always stretch, so I'm just going to stretch them a little bit by finger here. I'm just going to push down on them and stretch them a little bit. All strings stretch, so I'm not pushing really crazy hard because you just break it. You don't want to break your strings, especially as much as these things cost. Okay, now let's just check it one more time. Just a hair low, and I could do that with this other end. I'm actually going to lower this. I'm going to lower the pitch actually on the A string here. It's not up as high as the rest of them. Give her a little more adjustment down at this end. So that's going to drop the A down a lot. Let me check the A. The A is back down to a G sharp. Let's bring it back up. It's almost an A now. D is just a hair low. G is a hair low. E is just a little bit sharp, so I'm going to see if I can lower it with this. Actually, it's just a hair sharp. Maybe I can stretch it just a little bit. And if you're new at this, tuning up a violin, I realize, well, maybe you don't realize, but I probably just made that look a lot easier than it is. Like I said, these are just frictions, so you've got to be pushing in at the time you're turning them. If you're not pushing in while you're tuning it, it's going to spring back on you and you're going to lose it. And that's why most people end up having their instrument fall apart, because they don't keep that real tight. And that's why I like these fine adjustment tuners down here, because they can just turn these little buttons right here and tune up the instrument. And you can see that I've got a lot of height here exposed on these, so they've got a lot of room to tighten them down. I mean, the instruments generally don't get tighter on their own, although that does happen on certain atmospheric condition days, but generally they drop in pitch. So by being able to tighten these up, they'll be able to tune this thing for quite a while before they need to bring these all back up and tighten these all up at the other end again. That's pretty close. It's not absolutely perfect tuning, but it's good enough to test the sound now to see if it's got a decent sound. Much of a violinist. I'm more of an old-time fiddler, so I can barely play anything on a fiddle. I play mandolin mostly, but I can play it well enough to know if it's set up correctly and if it sounds right. So it sounds pretty good, plays pretty good, it's easy to note. Barely touch the strings to note them now. Pretty good. It plays really easy. Barely have to touch the strings to note them now. Just barely touch them. And that makes it easy for a beginner. So it's going to feel like a totally different instrument when she gets this back. Now that brought the pitch way down again, and I knew it would. It always does when you first play them. Okay, just one last check on the intonation, and it's perfect. So that job is done. That one is set up just about as good as that instrument can be set up. I would invite your comments, your questions. Please give me a like if you like what you just saw, and if you have any criticisms, especially about the videoing, I'm open to that too. I don't need any haters. As I mentioned already, I'm a newbie at this, and all I'm trying to do is provide a service to you, let you see how you can set up your own violin. And if you want more information on setting up a violin, you can always reach me on my website. That's rosastringworks.com, and my email will be there on the website. My phone number's there as well. Thank you very much for watching. Please tell your friends, and please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.